Welcome to Season 2 of the Co-working Culture, your business podcast discussing co-working, collaboration, and customer experience with your host, Ali Joseph. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Co-working Culture podcast. I am your host, Ali Joseph. You are tuned in live to Season 2, Episode number 6 here of the Co-working Culture podcast. I'm so excited to bring this content to you today. It's some really amazing content. Today's topic that we're going to be talking about is WFA collaboration trends of 2020. If you're wondering, first off, what WFA is, I'm going to tell you that in a minute. But to my co-working community, you guys probably already know what this means, and I'll go into that jargon in a little bit. But welcome. I'm so excited about this topic, and I'm so excited to share this information with you all. Make sure that, of course, you're joining us as well on social media to keep up with the latest trends, information, and updates on what we have coming, including the new ebook that I have coming as well in March 2020. So excited. You can visit our website at www.thecoworkingculture.com. You can also follow us on social media. We are on Facebook and Instagram at Co-working Culture. We just created a group, well, not a group, but a business page on LinkedIn as well for the Co-working Culture podcast. So if you're someone that is on LinkedIn, which you should be, especially if you're an entrepreneur, you're in a business, and you should be utilizing the platform of LinkedIn for business, we are now on LinkedIn as well. And you can just type in the co-working culture and our page will populate as well. So we just got started with that one. So we're going to continue to take some time to build with it. But in the meantime, of course, as we continue to build on LinkedIn, we do have a lot of content and really awesome content on Instagram and Facebook at Co-working Culture. That's COWORKN Culture. So make sure that you continue to follow up with us on social media as well as our website to keep up with all the latest updates and information. And of course, we do have some really great things coming up in the long run as well. So that'll be a great opportunity for you to stay tuned as well. Okay, so episode 6, this is what we're in. This is the third to the last episode of season 2. So we have after this two more episodes of the Co-working Culture podcast for season 2. And then we will be on hiatus for a little bit. We are currently working on new content and information for season 3. And we'll talk about that a little bit more going into the last 2 episodes so that you guys have some content and you can guys get some insight on what we're bringing next for the co-working community. The Co-working Culture podcast has been dedicated to talking about everything co-working, collaboration, and the customer experience. But most importantly, with the content that we have been sharing, not only in season 1, but also here in season 2, it's to help our community members of co-working to be better and to scale their businesses. As we know, based on current industry trends, there are over 3 million co-workers global wide. Yes, I said that correctly, 3 million coworkers global wide that are utilizing co-working spaces. There are over 19,000 spaces globally, and that trend is going to continue to grow. We're looking at, based off of current forecasting, we're looking at 26,000 co-working spaces global wide by 2025. So if you are not getting in this trend, if you are not getting involved or really not utilizing the experience of co-working to scale your business, the time is now to do so. There are more co-working spaces that are opening. They're understanding the business model a lot better, and a lot of co-working companies and owners are really working on making sure that their communities are unique in the way for their business. And so without your business and without your membership, there wouldn't be any co-working. So I definitely am so happy that you guys have been listening, and I'm so glad to have a podcast that is dedicated to the co-working members, to the wonderful 3 million community members and co-workers in these co-working spaces across the globe. So I just wanted to throw that out there and just give you guys a little bit of data and statistics. All right. So season 2, episode 6, WFA collaboration trends of 2020. So most of you guys, obviously, in the co-working community, and even people from time to time, you work in a co-working space, but also you're used to the lingo of work from home, WFH, right? Work from home. Well, WFA, and maybe I'm behind, but I just found this to be an interesting jargon. WFA is work from anywhere. So that's where that comes from. I saw this lingo a while ago and I was like, oh, I never knew WFA, work from anywhere. You know, lingo and jargon changes from time to time in different industries and in business. So I was interested in that and I said WFA and I was like, oh, okay, work from anywhere. So yes, there are WFA collaboration trends that people are using and that people are taking more advantage of, especially being a remote worker and being in that remote virtual space, right? A lot of us are the 3 million that are working in co working spaces. We're obviously working and connecting with people, not only locally, but we're also connecting with people across the globe. So it's really crucial and very important that we're utilizing some of the best trends to keep collaboration at its peak and at its best. And so the entire season of season 2 here at the Co-working Culture podcast, we've dedicated to talking about the power of collaboration. And if you've been following and if you've been listening to each episode, we've been discussing collaboration. We've touched a little bit on the different types. And now for this episode, we're going to talk a little bit more about what are some of the most popular trends for 2020 as we're still at the beginning and in the first quarter of 2020. If you don't have the right tools and you don't have the right software to be able to communicate with people, to work with your connections, then you're really behind. And you want to make sure that you have the best ways to not only communicate, but also for the best ways of productivity. Because as we're working for people, you know, you have your virtual assistants, you have your remote entrepreneurs, people are traveling. You want to have the best and top trends to be able to connect with your team. If you do have a remote team, and could connect with people and business partners if you have business partners that you work with on other locally and across the globe. So having the right tools and having the right workflow, I'll say it that way. Having the right workflow is very important because if you have a great workflow and it's streamlined, the success of any type of collaboration efforts will be stellar and will bring very great positive results. So we're going to talk a little bit about that today. So research today is from financesonline.com. And the trends that they talk about are 7 future collaboration trends and forecasts for 2020. So this is basically an article that talks about, again, what are some of the top trends and how are people that are working remotely being successful in their business when it comes to the people, right? So as we continue to work in co-working and as we continue to use the co-working business model to scale our businesses, as we travel, as we tap into new markets, we get the business. Now, how do we maintain? Because it's easy once you have a strategic plan all laid out. Once you have that laid out, it's easy to get the business and to get the buy-in. But now, how are you maintaining that? And one of the biggest pivotal things with collaboration, as I've been talking about all season long, is the communication piece. There is nothing, if nothing else, communication is the key factor, and especially crucial, even more so when you are a remote worker. And as a remote coworker and you're traveling and you're not really in the face to face with people and not the traditional cubicle and desk, it's very important that you are using the right tactics and tools to keep people together. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the trends here. Again, the research here is brought to us today on today's episode by financesonline.com. And so I'm going to share some of the collaboration trends that they're stating for 2020. And I'm also going to talk about an article that I found that was actually really interesting. I found it about a week ago about a new format of collaboration trends. And so that's something that may be coming in the works as well. So it's very exciting, great stuff that's going on. And we're going to go ahead and get right into it. So without further ado, I'm going to get into the future of collaboration. So Some of the key collaboration trends that they're talking about that's going on right now that you should know: leading attributes of great workplaces. Now, when it comes to co-working and when it comes to collaboration, the biggest thing is building great teams. In any collaboration, having the best of the best, the subject matter experts, and people who know exactly how to connect with other people is one of the top leading attributes of great places for people to work and great partnerships. The second one, it talks about leading collaboration, communication, market growth segments. So obviously the most popular are teamwork apps, and we're going to actually talk about those tools in episode number 7. So we're going to get into that. So I'm not going to touch too much on that right now. But some of the trends, those were just a couple there, but some of the trends of content that we're going to talk about are things that really have impacted, and based off research and analysis, have really impacted collaboration and helping people to feel more confident and positive with the business partnerships and with the people that they're working with. So, number one, we're talking about is one of the biggest collaboration trends is huddle rooms. Now, huddle rooms, if you are a co-working space, well, not a co-working space, if you're a corporation that utilizes co-working spaces, obviously they have private office spaces. There's options for you to have conference rooms, to have strategy meetings. Huddles are a really great way to keep updates. So if you have a local team at a co-working space, take maybe a couple of times a month, depending on what your budget is and what contract you have at the co-working space. Take a couple of times, maybe 1 to 2 times a month, if you have a local team, to have them come to the space and have that conference, have that face to face. I always found, just in my career and just with having strategy sessions, huddle rooms are incredible. Like just having that quote whiteboard session is what I like to call them. If you ever go into different offices and they have like a whiteboard in the rooms, like it's not the traditional chalkboard like it was back in school, but there's these whiteboards that a lot of times now a lot of these corporations and a lot of these spaces utilize. It gives people the time frame to get together, come together as one, share ideas. I call it the whiteboard strategy session. Those are always great because you can write things down. You can, especially if you're a visual learner. I'm more of a visual learner. I can talk about things all day, but unless it's actually structured and it's written down and I can actually see the vision, it gets very clouded and very confusing very quickly. So, huddle rooms is a really top trend of 2020. It's actually the number one trend as well, because having that sense of community and having that sense of buy-in when you are dealing with and you're engaging with other collaboration teams, when you're dealing with your teams for your business, or if you're dealing with business partnerships, it's a great way to get people together locally and from a remote perspective as well. Because depending on most conference rooms, they do have it where, of course, you can do video conferencing. You can put it on a big screen. So that way you can actually have people that are remote involved in these conversations as well. So I think just having that huddle, whether that's once or twice a month, if you actually are working with business partners, if you have a team, you may do it more often, every 2 weeks. You may do it weekly, just really depending on your business. This is a great way to really engage people and make everyone, not make, but necessarily, but it gives everybody the opportunity to actually be involved in the decision making, in the collaboration piece, and making sure that everybody has a voice in the target goals and the big goals that you guys want to accomplish. So that's huddle rooms. That's number one. And then, of course, here's some uses and just some data knowledge here. It has about uses and benefits of huddle spaces. And so, of course, the top one was accommodates quick meetings easily. So if you need to get people together remotely and locally, you need to put them in a room, you need to have a discussion and a conversation. 76% of people said that these huddles were there to help accommodate quick meetings easily. The second trend was provides privacy, right? So for those tough conversations in episode 5, like we talked about ending a collaboration, using these type of huddle rooms and using these type of conference rooms are when it is those hard and most difficult conversations, they do provide the necessary privacy that they need amongst those that need to have those conversations. And then 61% of people said that. And then the third one of the benefit of huddle spaces is facilitates brainstorming, which is always great because you can get ideas out